Understanding and coping with depression. Part 1. This video is designed to help you understand depression and what you can do to help yourself. This video is in 3 parts. Part 1. Understanding why you feel persistently low and depressed. Part 2. Managing your emotions and checking how you think. Part 3. Coping with problems and looking after yourself. We recommend you watch all 3 parts before you try any of the ideas that are suggested. This is because the ideas will be more effective if you fully understand the reasoning behind them. There are a series of worksheets and resources to accompany this video. Please do use them to help. It may be you prefer to copy some of the content onto your phone, or find another way of recording the same information. Every time a worksheet is mentioned, there will be a light bulb icon to remind you there's a worksheet for this section. We all have periods of feeling down, sad, or unhappy. This is a normal part of everyday life, and often there is a reason why we feel like this. We may have fallen out with a friend, been criticised or bullied, or be unable to do something that we enjoy. Usually these feelings don't last very long, and within a week or two our moods lift. There are other times when feelings of sadness, hopelessness, and emptiness seem to take over. The feelings don't go away, they become very strong and start to affect every part of our lives. When this happens, you may find it hard to motivate yourself to do things, stop doing things you used to enjoy, prefer to stay at home and not want to go out, avoid being around other people and spend more time on your own, feel very tired and lethargic, and sit around doing nothing even though you have things to do. There are a number of signs of depression that you or others around you might notice. These include feeling irritable and easily upset or hurt, becoming tearful much more often than usual, eating more or less than usual, finding it difficult to concentrate on schoolwork or completing it, sleeping more or less than usual, finding it difficult to make decisions, not wanting to do things you previously enjoyed, feeling that life isn't worth living, thinking about death or having suicidal thoughts, self-harming or wanting to self-harm, being very self-critical. Around the world, depression is the most common mental health problem. Depression tends to develop during adolescence, and it affects both males and females, but is more common in girls. Rates of depression in children and young people range from 3 to 8%. In the UK, around 80,000 children and young people are estimated to suffer with depression at any one time. We don't really know what causes depression, and often there's no single reason. Some of the possible reasons might be genetics. Although researchers haven't found a depression gene yet, it does seem to run in families. Depression is more common in those young people who have a close family member with depression. Trauma. Traumatic experiences, for example bullying, abuse, bereavement, and family conflict, can increase the risk of developing depression. Chemical imbalances. Researchers have found that some of the chemicals that send messages from our brains don't seem to work as well in people who are depressed. Hormones. Because depression usually develops during adolescence, some researchers have wondered whether changes in the body's balance of hormones may be involved. Learned patterns of negative thinking. People who become depressed become trapped in negative ways of thinking. They learn these patterns over time and often feel hopeless about their future and unable to find solutions to everyday challenges. There are three main ways that depression affects us. It has an impact on how we think. We end up stuck in negative and critical ways of thinking, where we often expect to fail or things to go wrong. Everyone gets stuck in these ways of thinking from time to time, but when we become depressed, this way of thinking takes over. How we feel. When we are depressed, we will notice a number of symptoms that might affect our concentration, appetite, and sleep. What we do. People often feel tired, find it hard to do things, and spend more time on their own. Let's have a look at each of these in a little more detail. How we think. When people feel low and depressed, they are more likely to think negatively. They are more likely to blame themselves if things go wrong. For example, a young person who was struggling to understand some new schoolwork found themselves thinking, I can't understand this, I must be stupid. They blamed themselves for not understanding, even though the rest of the class were also finding the work hard. Young people who are depressed tend to generalize problems or difficulties in one area to all parts of their life. For example, a young person who did not do very well in a maths test found themselves thinking, I'm going to fail all my exams. They were thinking that they were a complete failure and were overlooking how well they were doing with their other schoolwork. Believe that things cannot change or be different. For example, a young person who had an argument with a friend may find themselves thinking, I never get on with other people and will never have any friends. They have overlooked how they do have other friends. Young people who are depressed tend to think in negative and critical ways, so when they are depressed, they are more likely to dwell on the negative things that happen, blame themselves for the things that go wrong, have more negative expectations about themselves, what they do, and the future, dwell on the things that go wrong or aren't quite right, take one thing that goes wrong and apply it to all aspects of their life. How we feel. As we have already seen, low mood and depression are associated with some changes in how we feel. We might be tearful, find it hard to concentrate, go off our food, feel tired, think about or harm ourselves, have problems sleeping, comfort eat, find it hard to make decisions, or feel irritable. What we do. Low mood and depression also have a significant impact on our behaviour. We may stop doing things, even those things we used to enjoy. We may not want to be with people and spend more time on our own. We may stop going out and spend more time at home, or find it hard to do everyday things like getting up or dress, or we may fall behind with schoolwork. The comic strip and the attached resources shows what it feels like to be depressed. In this diagram, we can see how we feel, how we think, and what we do can all interact. For example, we may blame and criticize ourselves, which may make us feel tearful or stop us going out as much and joining in with activities. Depression can be very difficult to cope with and can have a big impact on your life. Here are some examples of how it may affect you. In your school or college, you may have difficulty concentrating, feeling tired, or have thoughts of failure and hopelessness that can affect school attendance and schoolwork. Attendance may suffer and grades may drop. Family relationships. It can be hard for families to recognise that you're depressed and not being a difficult adolescent. You might have more arguments with your family, particularly around everyday tasks such as getting up, keeping the bedroom tidy, and helping around the house. You might withdraw from your family and spend more time on your own. You may find it very difficult to talk about how you're feeling. Friendships and relationships. When you feel down, you may feel irritable and find it hard to go out and socialize with your friends. They may not understand how you feel, and relationships may become strained.